I don't get rid of the crouching, and I'm pretty sure it's because when you crouch and then jump into a slope on the ceiling, you would just shoot up into the sky.
I'm playing. While
Pre-recorded. This is the footage that they pre-recorded to show.
Hey guys, sorry I was
Yo, what's up?
Me and the guys were talking about Petscop, so we were so hey
Hey, I'm playing.
Yeah,
I'm playing a little bit
like
of Pro while we wait.
So I guess let me thank you to the rest of the mods for being here. I know it's been a couple of years, so I didn't really expect much availability, but I think we got really everybody I need. We're going to get a hold of Adam. We're going to reveal what his sock puppet account was, and then questions. The rest of us are gonna step down. It's just gonna be him speaking. The rest of us in text chat. I'm thinking I'd like to hear what people think. I was just thinking of putting like a 60-second slow mode on the text chat, but maybe I'll be kind and just make it 5. I don't know. What do people think? Actually, yeah, here we go.
I'm
gonna start with 5, and then we're just gonna see if we need to go higher. I don't need to start at 60. That's kind of insane.
Yeah, I feel like
we just want to control the flow so that like you can keep up with the questions.
It's readable for him.
Fair. So if you want to kick us out, I'm pretty sure it'll stop the stream too.
No, you're good. I'll kick you out when Adam shows. We got a couple minutes before you start. I'm just going to DM. Oh, well, he did technically reveal his account. He's changed it, so it no longer has the information on his account name is different now. It used to be a fake name and no icon, and now it does say Adam Butcher. So if you all want to look through the giant member list, you might find
he's a researcher. He's a researcher.
So I was talking with the is anybody?
I was saying
it. Is anybody available to film this? To I don't know, like crack out OBS?
I think Alistair said they would.
Alistair?
As well.
Okay, cool. Thanks, Buggy.
I was literally searching up what he was. I literally searched up Simon Mackey to see, and I feel like he was really sus. I
said in the we have a chat for people with the researcher role. It's like just a kind of an artifact of 5 years ago when that was helpful.
An artifact.
And I wrote in the chat, like when people were speculating, it's not a researcher, and then I deleted the message because I was like, wait a minute, yes it is. We did give him researcher at some point. I was talking with the rest of the mods. If you remember, we're gonna have to ask him. That's gonna be my question for Adam. I don't know when that happened.
Hold on, I'm looking back at some stuff. Yeah,
that makes sense.
Take this.
Sometimes I think I'm Adam.
Here. There's that. Oh, he's in the chat. All right.
Adam!
Let's see. I'm looking at the audience, so he isn't in yet, but we have literally a minute. So.
Hey guys, it's me. That is Adam.
If you look back up in the stage chat, you can see when I said his name because
yeah.
Alistair said Simon Mackey.
Simon Mackey, yeah.
I was looking through all the researchers. It was either him or Nick D. Golfer.
I talked to Nick before.
Yeah, I probably did too. It's been years. A year.
We're all Adam.
Yeah, we're just waiting to hear from him in the stage itself.
No, I'm Adam Butcher.
Hello. We are all Adam Butcher on this blessed day.
It's been a blessed day, indeed.
I'm Adam Butcher. So I just did the plushie section in the game. I don't know where to go from here.
You got a couple of butterflies following you.
Yeah, are you just
they do
playing the web game?
Yeah.
Nice.
I figured we just watched the original video, and I felt like, hey, might as well play the web
Okay.
game.
I should have done a rewatch.
Yeah, Paradox said entertaining, so
Having a Petscop book club with a couple of friends.
Oh yeah,
club.
I haven't touched in Petscop for a good bit.
I mean, it's been over for a
This
little bit,
this
hasn't it?
section might take a bit if I can get the code right. The table.
Oh, no, you're doing
I
it.
still
You're doing it
the
right.
whole like the keyboard thing. Oh man, when you get like partially through putting the cipher in and it unlocks like a proper keyboard.
Yeah, I remember.
Yeah, I used to,
remember.
That's what it's all
I'm not doing
about.
it.
That was the
That is what it's all about.
night that I don't remember who it was cracked the keyboard first.
I posted a picture of it. I posted a picture of it, and everybody was like, "How?"
Oh yeah, it was you. It was so
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was. My favorite part of that initial like we got the game part was discovering that the maze, the underground maze, was actually letters. I figured that out and it was so cool.
Okay, let's see. When does the event start? Like any second now. Oh, we got him. I'm gonna make him a speaker as soon as I'm gonna make the rest of you listeners. I'm moving the rest of you to the audience, and I'm gonna move myself to the audience. Everybody, please welcome Mr. Adam Butcher. I invited him to speak.
Hello, I'm speaking. Let me turn on my camera. Oh, I've got a funny background. I don't remember. Give me one moment. Yeah, this is where you'll discover I'm not that used to live streaming or anything like that. This should work. I shouldn't. Okay. Yeah, there we go. That's. I'm in reality now. Great. Oh my god. Okay. Hello. Very exciting. Here I am. I've got my Stretchmancer banner behind me. We made this for a conference we went to, and then I've just put it behind me in my bedroom. Oh, hello everyone. Maybe I should do a little intro as like why I'm doing this, what's going on, and then I'd love just like the questions to come flying in, and we'll just see what we can. What I can answer, basically. This was basically like a kind of transition point for me where I was like, I really wanna. I'm moving on to working on my exciting new game, Stretchmancer, which is a first-person puzzler with a kind of exciting stretch anything mechanic. And I sort of wanted to kind of like draw a line under Crow 64 and kind of like move my identity out of being a kind of short horror filmmaker into a game maker. I'm working with I've created a small company with some friends to make Stretchmancer. We have funding from a publisher. So I'm sort of transitioning into a kind of different career almost of like really concentrating on making games. But I just really love the Crow 64 community. I think you guys are all so fun and so like engaged with my work. And I know some other people might have like questions about my other films or my other, my creative process or whatever. So a lot of this was, kind of a way of kind of talking to you guys, answering some questions about Crow 64, and also, probably hoping to drive some of you to wishlist Stretchmancer. And ideally, we've just started a Stretchmancer community Discord, which I will link. Can I do links in here? Let me try and do that. I'll just put a link to the Stretchmancer community Discord. It's like we've literally kind of just started it, so it's pretty empty, but I'm hoping to build a lovely community for the game there. So let me just put that. I'll just put it in. Yeah, I'll put it in the chat here. I'm just gonna put it in discussion for want of a better way of doing it. There we go. I think that'll work for everyone. It looks like you lot have pinned it already. Woo! And yeah, thanks for recording, Alistair. That's great as well. Yeah, happy for this to be recorded and for you guys to do what you like with it. So that's kind of why we're doing what we're doing. And how do I just want to see some questions now, and I'll just start talking, basically. It's going to be the Adam show. Okay, wait, so I'm going to try and... Oh, here we go. I'm clicking the buttons and working out. Okay. Okay, I'm just looking at the first one I'm seeing. I have a question. Does the cartridge actually contain anything? Question mark, exclamation mark. So this is the cartridge. If you look very closely, I don't know if you could ever see this in the video, but you can kind of see that it's 3D printed, basically. So for a while, I did have like on eBay listings, like trying to see if I could get a development cartridge. But as you guys know, they're all really expensive. So I got a friend who had a 3D printer. Made this and then added the stickers and the drawing on it and stuff. That's that question. Okay. I wonder what led you to do a continuation to Crow 64 4 years later. So that's a really good question. I think maybe I'll tell a bit of a story with that, which is my projects in general like take a really long time to make, and so to me like adding another 4 years or whatever isn't like such a huge time for me. The project really had a lot of different stages, and when I put it out in October 2020, I really kind of conceived of it as like a short film with some attached kind of puzzles that one could solve, basically. Like I really thought of it as like one delivery and then that was going to be it, really. I didn't plan to have like a continuous kind of outlay of content following it. I really kind of designed it, I think somewhat foolishly. I sort of designed it almost as a bunch of puzzles spread across many videos that could be solved by like a group of 4 friends or something like that. I tested it on like a couple and a few other people, and that's how they responded to it, and they solved it with a bit of nudging. But instead, obviously, I kind of just delivered it to the internet, and I think what I thought was like a set of puzzles that could be solved in, maybe a couple of weeks was really sort of solved in, I think, sort of 2 or 3 days or something like that. And so, I was looking on the Discord and I was kind of, seeing really excited by how excited everyone was. But I could also see that there was a sort of assumption on most people's part that like this is just the beginning of a long story that's going to keep us going and going for maybe years or whatever. And that kind of expectation of like, oh, we've just solved the first set of puzzles, we've spoken to Manfred, now we can do whatever. That sort of didn't satisfy you, I guess, basically. So I sort of was like, okay, I need to it wasn't that I needed to deliver more content, but I saw the appetite and I saw that people wanted to kind of extend the story and stuff like that. So that's why I kind of created this sort of second section that had like Ulrich in, and that's why I sort of kind of led up to a kind of second climax, which was like dumping the Unity project and that sort of thing. And so that was how I kind of got to the sort of slightly strange mess and slightly strange cadence you guys got, which was like, I'd never really thought of it as like a long continuous series. And then I felt the appetite and I felt like there was questions that I still wanted to answer and play with. So that was sort of how I delivered that. Okay, so a long way of getting to your question of like what made me want to do like come back to it 4 years later. It really was that I came across this. Someone had commented about could you make plushies of Crow, and this was like quite late into the process, like maybe a good year or two after the first video had come out, and I just was like. Uh, I just was like, yeah, I really want to make a Crow plushie. So that was my like starting point. It's like that would be really cool. I'd be really happy if those existed and were in the world. But I thought if I do that, I need to do it in such. I was working with Makeshift, so I need to do it as like a Kickstarter campaign. It was like in that way, I need to like justify like restarting up this world, and I kind of still wanted to do it in universe. And then I sort of thought back to, you know, some of the kind of lingering question that I think a lot of people still had about Crow 64, which was sort of like, what happened to Manfred? What happened to Nils? And I was like, I think I can use the creation of the plushie to do the other thing that I'd always wanted to do, which was like an interactive game that actually felt haunted and felt weird. And I was like, okay, great. I can combine these two desires and I can just do it a lot later. And I think just having like a distance from it and having been able to explore other projects, it meant I didn't feel so precious about Crow 64. I wasn't like, oh, if I do a bad job with the interactive game or if I do a bad job with the plushies, it will like ruin the first thing. It was like there was enough of a separation that people could go, okay, that was Crow 64 part 1 and this was Crow 64 part 2. And if people didn't like part 2, it didn't like tread on part 1 too much. I felt like there was a sufficient distance. That was why there was some of the gap, and I hope that sort of helps. The person who says I wasn't able to buy a Crow plush, there is someone here who has bought 20 of them, some absolute madman. So I don't think you might want to contact them and see. Yeah. Oh yeah, someone else responded on that. Paradox asks, speaking of plushies, did you ever have plans on doing other characters? There was one TikTok that showed what looked like Father Crow, but oh right. No, I think I faked a Father Crow plushie. But no, I kind of just really thought like we would just make one plushie and then be done with it. Really, yeah. I thought one was cute enough and fun. What other questions are there in here? Mr. Chair asks, can we get a real solution on how Manfred managed the ERS? That was the Eternal Revival System. Was it Egyptian magic? Was he really just a really good coder? I think the answer to that is there was no real solution on that. I think one of the kind of recurring themes, recurring things or discussions that seem to come up on Crow 64 is like whether or not anything like supernatural or science fiction is kind of happening. And I think a lot of my approach from the beginning was like, I think this is most interesting if it appears haunted or appears supernatural, but, you know, things like, oh, is Manfred trapped inside the game, or is the soul of Thea trapped inside the game, something like that. And instead, I think I was more interested in like, what if just a very talented coder was also very obsessive and kind of programmed their sort of fears and anxieties and obsessions sort of into the game. And then you kind of combine that with, you know, he's working on some kind of like organic random generation level regeneration system. Like it kind of made it sort of feasible that like you might get the kind of weird game experience that is shown in the videos. So yeah, I don't think there was Egyptian magic. We have like the pyramids to kind of hint at something dark and strange going on, and sort of maybe that's how Manfred like conceived of what he was doing, sort of building a kind of tomb, a kind of pyramid. But I think in the end of the day, it is just like good code and obsession, and that kind of thing. Let me see what else we've got here. Winter asks, were the birthday and location deliberate red herrings or actually meant to be solved? So this was, I feel a bit bad about this. I think basically like, the way I conceived like the ending of the piece at the start was that you would basically, people would learn that Manfred was still alive, that he was trying to reach out to his son, and that he had his email address, and that people would reach out to him via this email address, and they would get a response, and that would be a kind of moment of magic in and of itself. But I sort of wanted to treat Manfred kind of quite realistically, and I wanted to imagine that he was a real person who is like left these clues, and it's kind of like, you know, missed wires as to why like Nils never received the cartridge and that kind of thing. And so I kind of wanted Manfred to just like know that it's just random people from the Discord like contacting him, and that they're not his son, and that like you couldn't feasibly trick Manfred into doing that. I guess that was kind of what I wanted to do. So, you know, me and Luke, my brother, we were kind of writing this, we sort of came up with this kind of cryptic set of things. I'll meet you at a place that only I can know, at a date that only I can know, or me and you can know, talking to Nils, and then the community won't be able to solve it. And I think at the time I thought that ending would feel quite good. I was sort of quite inspired by, bit of a tangent, I was quite inspired by this book, this Paul Auster book, the New York trilogy, and the third story in that has this like elusive author that you're trying to track down, and the main character tracks him down, but he only ever speaks to him through like a locked door, and it only happens this one interaction, and you're like, I can hear this guy, but I can't see him, and I can't really engage with him. And then it's sort of lost to the ether, and it has this kind of uncanny mysteriousness to it. And that's what I thought I would kind of achieve with Manfred going like, well, I'll meet you at this place and at this time, and we'll just leave the audience to wonder like, did he ever meet up with Nils, and what happened there? But I think because the audience was so focused on solving puzzles as I had set them up to be, it really did feel like, oh, we're missing something. We just need to get that information, or in the next videos Adam will put out, we'll get that information. And of course that didn't happen, and I hadn't set that up, and I didn't have any actors hired to meet in a forest in Germany or anything like that. So it couldn't really happen. So they were red herrings, and I think I sort of spent some effort trying to kind of make the audience more at peace with those red herrings, I think, and kind of moving us away from worrying about those puzzles, and more thinking about like whether Nils met up with his father, and what Manfred maybe chose to do in the response to Nils not meeting up with him, which he didn't in like the first tranche like 3 years ago. Paradox says they impersonated his wife. Lots of deception went on. Yeah, it's true. Let's have a look for another question. Do you remember how I got the researcher role? It looked like it was from house sitting, but I wasn't able to figure exactly what happened there. So I never intended to get so I've been lurking in the Discord since the beginning. I picked like a username that was just very kind of unmemorable. And I picked that, you know, I wasn't really on Discord before Crow 64, so I sort of made my profile specifically for this. And I was sort of on there just to lurk. I think I like thumbed up the odd bit of fan art, and sort of gave a few like encouraging smileys or whatever. But in general, the group didn't really need any like encouragement. You were all solving it and like having your theories, and I didn't really need to do anything at all. I'm gonna be honest, I like deleted some of my little posts that I did during that process. I don't know whether they're findable or not. It's not the end of the world if you find them. It's just like some of them are a little cringe, that it's like the creator has sort of gone like, oh, that's a cool idea or whatever. But I didn't really steer anything. I was just like, there's one point where I like offered like, oh, maybe Manfred thought this, just to see how people would respond, and people would be like, absolutely not, he wouldn't do that or something. I was like, oh, that's interesting. Like, people have got their own theories and stuff. I deleted a lot of that content. But how I got the researcher role was, so I made this other short film that I don't know, some of you have seen, I know, which is great. A lot sort of smaller audience, called House Sitting, and I knew it would have a smaller audience. It's just sort of has less kind of viral potential and that kind of thing. But I did make a sort of small like ARG element just to like round out some of the questions and explore some of the other things I was thinking about. And the trailhead that would get you from the House Sitting short film to the ARG content, like the link was like very obscure, and people basically didn't solve it. So if you like track down my posts, I'm kind of like, oh hey, I noticed this weird thing in the like tags on YouTube. Do you reckon it means anything? And everyone's like, oh yeah, maybe. And then they don't find the thing, and then I like wait a week, and I'm like, hey guys, I'm pretty sure there's something weird going on here, because there's this video that's related and this video that's related, and everyone goes, oh wow, yeah, there is something going on here. And I think at that point I got the researcher role, and I was a bit like, oh no, like now I'm really like in the works of this thing. That probably shouldn't have happened. But it did mean that like the community was able to like see the other bits of content, and I wasn't planning like a big story with that thing at all. I just sort of thought that the Crow64 Discord would appreciate some of the little puzzles and little extra lore that I'd worked on for that. And so I was just sort of wanted an audience to find it, and I was pleased that I just sort of achieved that. So that's why I ended up as a researcher, but I was not a researcher. I was not in any admin role for the Crow64 section of things. So I wasn't behind like pulling the strings in the background all the time. Max D asks about Manfred's emails. Was it his email getting spammed that threw that out the window? No, not really. I think sorry, I'm jumping around different subjects, but yeah, it's good fun. I think there was like some interesting feeling during that section of Crow64 where I think a lot of the Discord were kind of worried that I had somehow had my feelings hurt or something, and that I had therefore like thrown up my arms and like trashed the project and ended the project. And that was, I think, how some people interpreted me like dumping the Unity project. Or some people also interpreted that like the community had like broken the fiction and had like leaked the Unity project, which sort of made the whole thing impossible or something like that. And in reality, like neither of those things happened. I was like very prepared for Manfred to get like spammed, and I just sort of decided like, well, I'll just have him respond to some emails and ignore a lot, and it was fairly manageable for me. It didn't like ruin things by any means. And then with like the Unity dump, I think again that was like another example of where my expectations of how the audience would respond to a moment was kind of different to how they actually responded. So I think I saw the Unity dump as like I'd really been inspired by all the like the fan art and stuff that people had made, and I'd seen a lot of the stuff where people were like, oh, I really want the playable version of Crow 64 and all of this. And in my head, I was like, I don't want to make a playable version of Crow 64. I love the way everyone is like taking their own pieces of Crow and like making like not Five Nights at Freddy's, like they're making like a rap battle out of it, or they're making like an animation out of it, and they're making their own theme tunes. And I was like, I'll just give people the project and see what happens. And hopefully they'll kind of enjoy like playing around with it. And I worked a little bit hard to like make the Unity project look strange, and kind of like I deleted a lot of my actual working files and I changed the names of things. But at the end of the day, it still looked like a Unity project. And I think it kind of maybe deflated like the fiction of it for people. And I think also probably it was just a sign like this is over is what it was saying. And maybe I think people maybe were upset about that as well. But I was pleased that like the Unity project was out there. It meant that like Majora just like instantly made like a playable version of the game, and like that's still the version of the game that like a lot of the sort of influencers on YouTube have played and stuff like that. And it's like, oh cool, like because I did this Unity dump, like more stuff has been made and it's become more of a communal effort. And I've seen like YouTube videos where people have like manipulated using the Unity assets and stuff, and I kind of love all that. I like it being this organic thing. So I kind of went on a big rant there, but yeah, I guess sort of what I kind of wanted to say was that nothing really went like totally wrong. There wasn't like, oh, I was too spammed and then I like, you know, I had to dump the Unity project and call it a day. It never quite went like that. I think just to put a button on that, the only thing that did go wrong was that I really thought that a zip file was just like good encryption, and that people wouldn't be able to like brute force the password or like get through it that quickly. And so people got to the Unity project much quicker than I thought they were going to. I thought they were going to wait for a video that would reveal the password that would unlock the zip. But instead, you guys used your like magic hacking, elite hacksaw skills, and yeah, basically like got into the zip like a week earlier than I wanted you guys to. And when I saw that, I was like, oh shit, now I have to post the video early to react to that leak so that they all kind of combine, basically. So I think it did feel a bit like rushy and a bit messy, that very ending. But you know, it was good fun and it was pretty exhilarating when it happened. So yeah, it was cool. Right, I'm gonna scroll to the bottom. Actually, I'm gonna drink some water. LC asks, what were some of your inspirations for the puzzle elements? Any specific ARG you liked? For me, my big inspirations I'll just talk about my inspirations. I don't know specifically about puzzles. I think a lot of the puzzles I kind of just were like ideas I had in my head, somewhat like cribbed from escape rooms and other kind of puzzles and stuff I'd seen. But nothing specific for puzzles. I would say my two big inspirations, just from like a ARG puzzle solving perspective, was I'd be curious how many people here did the like pronunciation book, Bear Stearns Bravo 77 Days thing. It was really cool. Like, yeah, I don't know if you guys remember it. Yeah, Cedric saw it. I like was blown away at the time. It was basically this very boring channel that for years had been making pronunciation videos, like this is how you pronounce, you know, the word cheddar or whatever. And then it suddenly became this weird ARG that was like putting out these quite cryptic, interesting poems. They were pointing to this other universe, and then that other universe like turned out to be this weird, like playable sort of FMV game. I was blown away by it, and it was the only time I've been like in your guys' position, like being part of the community, like sharing theories and kind of, I was like spending my time at my like day job like trying to crack a particular code and stuff like that and creating big spreadsheets and things. And I was like, this is so fun. I love the world building. So that was like a really big inspiration. Like all ARGs, it's kind of hard to Google now, but there is still stuff about it. Like I think you can still play Bear Stearns Bravo, but it's not quite as impactful about like the huge build up that it had, but it is still really cool. And then the other inspiration that I would really recommend people watching was this film. Yes, the Horse ebooks. Horse ebooks is the same thing. The other big inspiration, I recommend you guys watch this film Under the Silver Lake, which is the second film from the director who created It Follows, which is a really great horror film. I think people slept on Under the Silver Lake a little bit. It was like not that well received, and it's not perfect, but it basically is like just a really good it's just a satisfying movie about like a kind of weird conspiracy, and I think it works really well. But the beauty of it is like it's satisfying and you can get to the end of it and you're like, great, cool, I saw an interesting movie there. But for someone like me watching it, I was like, it feels like there's some like weird codes dotted around this film, and like, what was that thing at the start, and what was that little sign there? And I found that when I like came out of the cinema and then Googled it, it was like, oh, there's a puzzle solving community here that are like getting like geocaching coordinates and stuff like that. And it was so interesting that this like feature film had this like follow on trail that just like added more lore and like was just more interesting. I think if it wasn't for Under the Silver Lake, I wouldn't have made Crow 64. Because basically it showed me that like it showed me a version where I could do what I do best. I think originally, before I made Crow 64, I thought of the project as a video game. Like I was going to make a video game, like a really ambitious, 10 plus hour game that would feel like a haunted video game, and I would make a video that would get people like excited and understand the lore, but the product would be like this game that you would download on Steam or whatever. And that's what I was trying to do. And I was like, hadn't learned how to program a 3D game. I didn't really know anything. I was like talking to different potential collaborators, but nothing ever came out. And I just realized like how bloody hard it is to make a video game. And then I saw Under the Silver Lake and I was like, wait a minute, I can do what I want to do without actually having to make a game. I can just use all my skills as a filmmaker. I can create one film that is like satisfying in and of itself, which is like the main YouTube film. Like a lot of like my manager and agent and stuff, the people that have seen that film and liked it, have never seen the ARG content, but they like that 19-minute film and that just works for them. And I was like, yes, I can make that a kind of nugget that works. And then I can also make the like ARG content for the people that want to dive deeper, and that can be like dotted over the internet, and that's fun. So that was really that kind of format, that model was like inspired by Under the Silver Lake. So that was a big inspiration. Worth a watch. Emilian asks about Stretchmancer. What does the rest of the team look like? How do you all group together? Cool. Yeah. So let's move around. Let me talk about Stretchmancer a bit. So Stretchmancer is, I feel tempted to like be sharing my screen or show something. Do I have Unity on this laptop? Not sure. No, I won't just yet. I'll just point to them over here. So Stretchmancer, the team there are 7 of us. I think that's a fairly small indie team. I'm the sort of creative director, which is sort of like story, level design, game design, that kind of stuff. We have a technical director, Ollie, who is kind of in charge of code, but is also like a game designer as well. And we have Tom, who's the producer, and also kind of game design, and also kind of music, half of the music team. So the Tom and Ollie are basically like friends. Like I've been friends for ages with them from university, and we were doing like a bunch of game jam games together over several years. We were doing like Ludum Dare. Each Ludum Dare we were like doing slightly better, and then it was the three of us that like made the Ludum. We won Ludum Dare with a Stretchmancer prototype basically, and it was from that like nugget we were like, okay, we've got something here. And in the sort of, I think it's been about 2 years since we did that prototype, we've just been sort of slowly creating the team that we needed to make the game, which was basically adding 2 3D artists, so that's Sean and Marco, and a 2D concept designer that is Jared, who, well, he's 2D art director, so he's like informing the environments and creating all the characters and that kind of thing. So yeah, we really needed, like, because I can't do art, we really needed like a good art team to kind of bring this thing home. And then the 7th member is Vincent, who is part of a duo with Tom Skillbard, who are like a music and audio team, who they did the music for Genesis Noir, which they won an award for. A really cool like jazz metaphysical game. So yeah, it's like it's quite a cool like team of 7. We're mostly split across the UK, but one person's in Portugal, one person's in Australia. So it's totally remote, which is kind of what I'm used to a little bit. So yeah, we're like fully remote, but it's working pretty well. We've been like in full production for about a month, and we're kind of, just doing the remote development thing. It's cool. It's going well. What should I look at now? Yeah, I think I need to put more stuff out on Stretchmancer. Basically, on my YouTube Shorts, there are like lots of videos of it, but I don't think people get served YouTube Shorts without it. Had Thea not died? This is a question, I think, from Mr. Chair with a boost from Juge. Had Thea not died, what would have been the plot of Crow 64? Sir Cat villain? What did you think of the Sir Cat character? So it's complicated. I think basically when Manfred created the game, I think he had some ideas about what he wanted it to be. I think, it's sort of ambiguous how much like Sir Cat, who is only mentioned in one magazine article. I think Sir Cat was either like the embodiment of just like kind of controlling commercial business interests. There's a kind of business takeover in the work tower, and that kind of foils Crow 64's plot. But I think Sir Cat also became like a kind of representation of like cancer. There's a sort of very weird, slightly odd pun of like Catser, maybe, kind of fusing together there. So it's hard to know whether like, Manfred's daughter would already have been like, they were sort of dealing with these kind of fits and various and seizures and stuff. So like he might have already had this thing on his radar, but like Thea's not dead. She's just ill, or not even that ill. And it's kind of, it could be like a weird kind of gradient path into like what Sir Cat came to represent. But you know, beyond that, like what was like the original game gonna be like? It's sort of hard to know. I think like I was really just inspired by like Banjo Kazooie and Mario 64, and like they kind of have a plot, but they're really just an excuse to jump around a lava world, a snow world, a forest world, and that kind of thing. And I think that's probably the kind of game maker that like Manfred originally was. Someone who was kind of interested in like experience and mechanics and like, you know, just playing this game and the world changing and things being different. I don't know if he was going to have like this sort of deep lore, big story with loads of like dialogue or anything like that. I think, you know, I think as things got darker for him, it very much changed like what the game was about for him. But yeah, I don't think at least I certainly didn't have like a very, very strong idea of like what the original Crow 64 game was going to be before everything went wrong. Hope that's helpful and not too disappointing. Atanok64 asked, is Crow 64 officially over, like in general? Do you have plans for it, even if doing merch or anything? Wonder if you ever share the HD assets like the Opus and the games logos. I did remakes and stuff, but would love to see the OG. I mean, for me, yes, Crow 64 is officially over. Sorry, everyone. I think it's over in as much as like I definitely don't have any plans to sort of extend the universe or like keep it going in any real way. I think like potentially some merch could some opportunity with merch or something could happen, but I don't it's not really something that I'm like currently like excited about. I think, you know, I really do think of it as like a project that is like in the ether, and like if people want to do remakes or remixes of it, I think that's like really cool. And like in that way, like Crow 64 can never die. Like it's up to us to do whatever we want with it. But yeah, I think that's kind of my like position. You wondered about some HD assets like the Opus and Games logo. I think the Catastrophe Crow logo is HD on the Internet Archive thing, but I'm not sure. Opus logo, yeah. Yeah, it's a complicated one. That it's like, is there like missing assets that like people really need to do their authentic thing? I think like if someone has like put loads of effort into something and is like, look, I've got this big finished project and I just need like one or two things to like make it golden, like I think you could probably post somewhere and I would probably find some way of finding it, and like hopefully giving you what you need. Unfortunately, I did look at my like drives recently and I don't think I like backed up as much of the Crow 64 project as I thought I had, so some stuff might have been like lost a bit. But yeah, I think like yeah, I think it's over, but that's because I really want to focus on Stretchmancer, and that is like a video game that is very different in tone, but I think will like satisfy a lot of this audience. It has puzzles, it has like cute, interesting characters. It's like slightly kind of subversive with what it's doing. I think you guys will dig it, and you know, maybe a Crow character will appear like out of canon in it at one point. I'll probably continue to like reference this universe in some shape or form because I like love it so much. But yeah, I think in terms of actual like canon Crow 64 content, it's kind of over. I hope that's helpful. What am I gonna look at? I saw one question which was like, why is Manfred holding a can of PBR, Pabst Blue Ribbon, in the boat picture? Well, basically, it's just a picture from the internet that I found. I I think it's sort of worth saying that like finding the photos was kind of an interesting finding the photos and the footage for Crow 64 was kind of an interesting process. Like I knew that people would do like reverse image search, so I did go out of my way to try and find like photos and reference points that were like quite hard to find. And I think I got very lucky with the Manfred photo. I ended up on some obscure like museum that had like just taken a lot of kind of ephemera photos that no one really knew what they were for, and they'd made them like Creative Commons license, so I was like happy to use them. And just like this image of this guy on the boat I just really liked, and it looked like Manfred to me. But yeah, like there was a detail that I couldn't spot at all, which was that he had a beer that was clearly like an American beer. And I wouldn't have known that. We don't have Pabst Blue Ribbon in the UK, so I wouldn't have recognized it. But it's sort of an interesting question as to like, probably if I was making this now, I would have ended up using probably AI to create like fake photos a lot. I know people have rightful reasons to be very critical of AI. I am myself, and like I don't intend to use it in any future projects. Stretchmancer won't have any AI in it at all. But I think for the very specific task of creating fake photographs for use in things like this, is incredibly useful, and it sort of really helps on some of these sort of elements. It's like I don't need like the idea of, I don't need like a walking talking actor. I just need a picture of a face that feels right for the mood. That, finding that photo, and like if you know how terrible stock photos are, it's like I was never ever going to find my Manfred from stock imagery. So that was sort of just like an interesting thing I was thinking about. But yeah, that's how we ended up with some quite funny a Pabst Blue Ribbon weird photo in the piece. Paradox saying that we really latched onto Sir Cat. I really liked the April Fool's takeover that you guys did, where Sir Cat took over the server. I thought that was really funny. So yeah, really cool. What else? I've always been wondering, ever since I pieced this puzzle together in 3 a.m. This is from Atterid Desteney. How did you make this? It looks so horrifyingly cool. So they're referring to this image of a sort of the crawler, basically, I think is what you guys called it, that in some way represents Nils, which is a kind of scarecrow character that like crawls on its arms and legs. How did I make? I'm just gonna play the video. Can I do a screen share on here? Oh no, I can't. It's fine. It doesn't matter. It's in the chat. And this was a puzzle idea that I'd thought of ages ago, which was like, I think it'd be really cool to chop up a video into lots of little squares, shuffle them around, and then when people solve it, they're like, ooh, And so, I made this video. I'm probably going to ruin it a little bit, but like, it's basically like the burlap. I think I bought like a bunch of burlap sacks or something that you can get from Amazon, and I sort of taped it in a particular way and popped it on my head. I can't quite remember how I did it. And then, I basically was in my pants, crawling along towards camera. And I think I did a technique which is like similar to, there must be some weird horror movies that do this or whatever, where basically I walk actually very slowly towards the camera, and then I like sped it up. So I sort of judder towards the camera in a way that's kind of horrifying. But yeah, just sort of poorly lit camera work in my house. And that's great that you solved it at 3 a.m. because I think I ended up filming it like quite late at night, and I was getting like really hot with this thing on my head. and just felt really like uncomfortable. And I think I like freaked myself out a little bit by the time I'd like finished filming it. I was kind of like, okay, what the hell am I doing with my life? Filming this thing on my own. Yeah, so glad you enjoyed it. Yeah, I was wondering if you guys were gonna bring that up. What else do I want to answer? I think says Raspberry Cubes asked, what's your favorite perspective, Neil's or Manfred's version of the game? Yeah, some of you guys are out there saying, yeah, Jacob's Ladder and Footage of a Bear uses that speed up mode. I think I've seen both of those. They're really cool. Yeah, what's my like favorite version of the game? I think like I'm really happy that I was able to make the Nils version of the game. I think it's not perfect, but it's actually like what I was envisioning years ago, years before I made Crow 64, but before I even knew it was going to be like Crow 64. I just was like, I want to make like a weird haunted N64 game that feels unfinished and that does like unexpected things. And I'm thinking, why did that do it because I did it, or why has that happened? You know, I really wanted that feeling. And so it was like this big roundabout route to get there, but eventually like my Unity skills were like okay enough, and that I just grabbed enough of an audience engaged in the lore that I felt like, oh, I can make this version of the game. And like I really, really enjoyed watching the community play the game, and like people were going, oh, in my version it's doing this, and what's going on, and this sort of weird chaotic feeling that was happening where people were playing the game and trying to work out like what its limits were and stuff like that. So I really I kind of achieved my like ultimate dream with like the Nils version, and I think that was kind of great. And I also particularly like on the itch.io for the Nils thing, there's like a comments thread, and it's all just quite random people like taking screenshots of like, oh, I found this and what's going on here. And it almost reads, it has the feeling of when I was a kid and you were like in the playground sharing rumors about like what would happen in the game. Like there was always a rumor with Mario 64 that if you did something in the fountain, you went around it 5 times and then backwards, you would unlock Luigi. And that was just like a rumor that people like spread amongst each other. And I think I managed to create some of that feeling among like the itch.io comments, which I really loved. So I was really happy with that. I think probably the like Manfred version is like more artistic, and it's like I've really like carefully managed all the moments and worked with a proper sound designer on a lot of the sections, and you know, it's all very like choreographed. So it's probably the more like artistic piece. But I think if I had to pick, I'd probably pick the Nils version, the second version. I think just as like a piece of playable thing. Mr. Chair asked if the Nils version of the game was very community focused, was anything missed that you were sure the community would find, or anything you never expected people to see? Really, like, you guys didn't miss anything. Like, with Crow 64, I don't think there was a single stone unturned. I think what would sometimes happen is you would spot like mistakes by me and things like that. I think I got like one of the birth dates wrong or something like that, or I can't even remember. But yeah, I don't think there was anything where it's like, oh, those guys haven't like worked that out. You guys worked it out really quickly. So yeah, congrats. Yeah, the phantom coin in the woodland area drove me mad. Shit, I don't remember there being a phantom coin. Sorry about that. That did sometimes happen. I would play like, oh, where'd that coin go? Maybe it was some janky, janky stuff that I'd done. LC's asking for some stretch mats and merch. Yeah, I think it definitely could do with some merch. I think like plushies. People have talked about like having like those sort of plastic hands that you had in the 90s where you could kind of stick them against the wall, something like that. Yeah. Yeah, merch is fun, isn't it? It sort of just makes you feel like a real person. Like, I don't know, I can't put my finger on it. But yeah, I think Stretch Banter will be good for some merch. Get some bum bags, very like 90. Yeah, sort of Fever the Octopus mentions a Stretch Armstrong type thing would be really fun. Completely agree. I'm sort of considering getting like a Stretch Armstrong character like in the game, but we can't actually make it work with the lore. But yeah, that whole world of like the 90s stretchy toy, like, yeah, it's really fun. So yeah, that'd be really cool. What else? Let me see. El Stefano is passing on a question from Titan, which is, can you say anything about the progress and development of the Internet Story film? Like zero. Probably hasn't been touched or progressed for maybe 10 years, possibly. See, when did I make this? Internet Story, I think, came out in 2010. And then I had like, yeah, I had some like good conversations with production companies. And I wrote, yeah, this like feature film version of it that was, I think, quite cool. It was basically like using quite like a screen life kind of aesthetic, and it was about like an influencer that sort of becomes agoraphobic and then gets like enticed onto this treasure hunt that like takes her like out into the real world, but there's a sort of like trolling campaign on her that's sort of destroying her life. And I haven't sold that well, but basically I think her character was really interesting and the kind of treasure hunt element was fun, like as it is in the Internet Story short film. And I think those elements still work together really well. But like, yeah, you know, when you're a filmmaker who has not, you know, sort of proven themselves, like has not already made a feature film, a successful feature film, it's quite hard to convince people to sort of part with their money, even fairly small amounts of money that you might want to do with a found footage film. But it's hard to convince producers to like part with their money, take a risk, and make a feature film with you. So, you know, it went through a bit of development. Like I worked with a British company for a bit on it, but it just sort of didn't become anything. And sort of what you end up doing as like a freelance writer, like trying to get into film and TV, is you sort of have this like conveyor belt of projects where like, oh, this person's interested in this, I'll write it up a little bit more, and you keep like working on it, and then you're like fiddling with something else that's in early in development, and then at a certain point the producer stops being interested. Oh, those things are falling out of fashion or whatever, and you kind of, unless you're like really passionate about the project, or in my case can like see a way of just doing it on my own, like I don't need a gatekeeper, I can just do this myself, then you sort of just are like, okay, I'm just gonna have to go back to earlier in the conveyor belt and see these other ideas that I was developing. Oh, that producer wanted like a thing about spaceships, like I did want to give them that thing about spaceships, let me write that up. And you kind of just keep the conveyor belt going on. So you end up like, I must have dozens of really nicely written synopses and lookbooks and scripts that will just probably never get made, will never see the light of day. You know, maybe it'll be different once Stretchmancer makes me a millionaire, and you know, I might like return to filmmaking if I want to, and maybe like the feature that I've been dying to make will get made. But yeah, I wouldn't hold your breath on Internet Story. I think the more likely thing that might get made is like there is still a good script that I've written for like what I'm calling a haunted N64 feature film, which is basically, you know, has really using Crow 64 to like sell the fact that like, look, there's an audience for this stuff. People really like these like haunted retro games, and you can use that to tell like a creepy and compelling story. So I've written a feature film that has like a freaky N64 game in, and like the general premise is that the sort of a woman in her 30s and her younger brother go back to their old house and find this like creepy development cartridge in the attic that like was probably worked on by their slightly weird now missing father, and they start playing the game and like, oh, is there like an entity inside the game that is their dad or something? That's the sort of loose kind of premise that like draws them into this sort of world of horror. And I think it would be fucking wicked, basically. But again, my agent is sort of having conversations with producers and stuff like that, and people are interested, but like that interest turning into like, yeah, let's make this, is like a huge gap. So again, please don't hold your breath on any of those things. The one project you really don't need to hold your breath on is Stretchmancer. We are basically, we have like a deadline that we need to kind of release it within. I'm not going to give an exact date, but around the 2 year from now mark, and that is sort of kind of locked in really in terms of like the funding we have and sort of our burn rate and that kind of thing. So it's like we will make it and we will deliver it. So I think that is the thing that I'm like really excited about. Feels really really real, and like when I'm someone that finishes projects that I start seriously, and Stretch Mats is one of them. So I think that's like that's going to be the first kind of feature length project from me, I think, in a way, because it will be way over the length of a short film. It'll be a nice big thing to play. Okay. Ender Creeper 811 asks, what did the people in the real life Lorenz house think about it, if they knew about it at all? So I think, as you guys spotted, I like used a Google Street View. Again, this is maybe where you would use AI to make like just one image. I used Google Street View to create like the house, the yellow house, where the Manfred Lorenz family once lived. And I colored it yellow, and I really was like, I don't think people would be able to just find this random house on Google Street View again. Like, so they should never be able to like, I'm not like doxing someone or sending the internet to a stranger's house, I hope. I think coloring it yellow also kind of really set up like, this is a different house. It's not the house that's in reality. But you guys are crazy. One of you just pinged about Germany, and I think it was a problem of like, I had gone to Germany, and Germany doesn't have that much Street View because they're very strict on their privacy. So I think like these guys somehow found it. Probably that GeoGuessr guy probably could have found it as well. I hadn't thought of that. I'm not sure he existed back then. But in answer to your question, I really hope they never found out that their house was in this video. I have no sign that they did. And I think it would be smart for them to not say anything if they did as well, right? But I think I think thankfully, I think the community was very good at being like, guys, don't share the location of some random house. Like, it's not part of the ARG. Like, let's not all turn up there, please. So good job, guys. Good sleuthing. But yeah, I don't think we caused any problems for anyone there, which is good. Sorry, I'm reading. Question: can we get any info on Adam 2? This is from Mr. Chair. The Adam who is in universe playing the game. What did he think about the whole Crew 64 situation? It seemed he rushed the original video due to not adding the voiceover that he promised. So yeah, that original 19-minute video, like he says, like, oh, I'm struggling to talk while play, I'll add voiceover later, and then it kind of just cuts to black. This was like an interesting question because I did show this short film to quite a few other like filmmaker, writer and director friends, and quite a few of them were like, I don't get why have I watched this, doesn't make any sense. Why is this video uploaded? Like, it's clearly like not finished, it just cuts to black. Like, where did Adam go? What did he do? And me and Luke like went around the houses trying to like see if we could add a framing mechanism. Should Adam come back on at the end and be like, oh, well, that was pretty freaky, but I've just uploaded it, or whatever? Should the description text say that Adam like got really freaked out and didn't finish the video or whatever? And then like, I think Luke was good. He just pushed for it. He was like, the cool thing about the ending is it just goes to black and you're like, what the fuck happened? And that is cool. And like, don't worry about like the logic of it, like the deep logic of why does this video exist on the internet. I mean, the truth is the whole video is kind of a bait and switch. You think you're watching like a review kind of thing, and then it becomes like a horror short. Like, you know, you don't have to like justify it on the deep level. I think how I justified it in my head for like the lore going forward, because like that Adam character did continue to like do some tweeting about different things, is that he basically was like a kind of semi not exactly traumatized, but kind of just like, this is way over my head. I'm you know, he probably like turned off the camera and like went and lied down or whatever after he got the kind of the ending that he got in the game. And he probably just thought like, well, I've made like the documentary bit, I don't really have like a way of commenting on the stuff I've seen, so I'm just going to kind of present it raw and uncut and, you know, see what people think of it. I think, you know, there's probably a bit of a kind of curse going on around the game where like characters that are otherwise quite intelligent and creative, like me, are kind of acting kind of irrationally at the same time. Like, they are sort of putting things out into the world that don't fully make sense and are kind of like, what do you want me to get out of this? You know, you could say the same of Adam's video. Is sort of similar to like Manfred's game. Like, he's made this thing that's, is it for him? Is it for Thea? Is it for Nils? Like, any of those answers isn't quite enough. It's kind of a mess is the thing that's been delivered, but it has been delivered in a state of trauma and anxiety and obsession. And so you can kind of justify like, well, that is sort of what these products of these things look like. So yeah. Winter asks, why was Manfred so specific about the 30 hertz in one of his interviews? Was he just obsessive about the intended experience, or was it meant to hint toward a theme of something? So this was a funny thing that like bothered me for a while. What I'll do is I'll post in the chat an image which you guys maybe haven't seen. Let me find it. So I'm just looking through. Basically, all of the articles were kind of based on, like, I did a lot of like going through old N64 magazines and stuff like that. And the interview with Manfred, I had to go to Edge magazine, which I didn't really read as a kid, but Edge magazine took itself a lot more seriously and did things like interviews with creators, and went quite in depth with them. Like, it was for like an adult audience as opposed to like a kid and teen audience. and sort of treated them almost like real films or whatever. So so I kind of just wanted to see what like the language of a interview like that was. And so I found this article from Edge magazine, and I basically like cribbed a lot of, like I changed a lot of the text, but I didn't change all of the text. And there was this line about Edge asks, so this is them interviewing the creators of Crash Bandicoot when Crash Bandicoot was like a really new thing. What was the roughest thing to get working properly? And the developer responds, everything at 30 hertz. It took 6 months to get the code right enough so we could run the number of polygons we needed with the texture bit depths we wanted and never drop below 30 frames a second. It's just like the specificity of that was like gold dust to me, and I was just like, oh well, I'll keep that in. And I think at the time I wasn't even sure if people were going to like screenshot all these articles anyway, and it was kind of just like, well, this works, it doesn't fight against Manfred's character, I'm just going to kind of like steal it basically. And I really liked that. I think some people had the theory that like the 30 hertz was really important because like the human some brain waves run at 30 hertz or something like that, and so there must be like a kind of human brain in the machine or something like that. And it's like that's completely like lucky coincidence and like cool stuff that comes out of like an audience like engaging hard with a product and stuff. So Winter says I was the brainwaves guy. Cool. Okay. Well, yeah, I really liked that. It was interesting because I couldn't find the Edge magazine. I got all the Edge magazine stuff from where is it? From the Internet Archive, but the Internet Archive I think has become like a bit crappy in recent years and it's like harder to search. They maybe like disappeared. So I'm gonna put the link I found to that magazine. It didn't give me any viruses as far as I'm aware. So yeah, that's I've just popped that in the chat if that's helpful for any of the document nerds on the Discord. I'm gonna drink some water and do some reading. Mr. Chair asked, was there any real substance to the blurred out sections of Opus Legacy's letter to Adam? So this was during like the plushie phase when I kind of wanted to show that like the plushie thing was going to happen. There was going to be a new phase of Crow 64 content. And by that point, I had just got so used to this community being able to like drill inside my brain and like drill inside my content in ways I hadn't expected, that I kind of often went to like extra effort to try and really make sure that I wouldn't break anything if people could work out things otherwise. So I wrote a genuine letter to myself and blurred it just in the possibility that some of you guys, I know there is some like maths transform you can sometimes do to like unblur some images. I was like, maybe those guys might be able to do that, and if they do that, I don't want it to just say blah 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 blah. Like I made it say the stuff that was relevant to the story, which was, I think at that point was something along the lines of like, we are Opus Legacy, we understand you have a version of our property, we're hoping we could come to some kind of like business arrangement where you like kind of, we're planning to do a remaster, and we hope that you can kind of retweet and push out to your audience stuff about our content. Basically that was sort of the upshot of the letter, I think. So that was kind of the premise of why Adam Butcher was sharing stuff about Crow 64 as well as Opus Legacy account, was like we'd come to some kind of arrangement even though the character Adam didn't fully understand it, basically. Yeah. Oh, Mr. Chair was upset. No, you asked, Mr. Chair asked that question, so there we go. I hope that helps. Can we see the letter? Got no idea where it is. I'm sorry. Maybe I'll. If you remind me, I might be able to find it. Vandercool8 has got a nice long question. Let me read it. In the NeilsItch.io version of the game, to get to the ending, you must do certain steps. You get either the wind-up key or the normal key, depending on certain circumstances. In the end, only the wind-up key ends up getting used in the factory on the Niels puzzle. Was the normal key meant to be a red herring, or was it left unused for whatever other reason? Both were also seen in the plush advertisement, so I'm curious if it was of any use. The key doesn't have a use. I think the way I made that game was I had a lot of I think quite a good way to make some of these things like that is to sort of have a box that has walls, and you're you need to deliver, I think it was something like 14 puzzle pieces, and I had these ideas around I can also have these switches that turn on and off that randomly change this kind of key to a wind up key, and I've got these different elements that I'm floating around with, and I was like, well, I definitely want to use the wind up key because it's harder to get, and I've got ideas what I can do with that in the way it relates to the plushies and stuff. And the key was more just a leftover of the original Crow 64 video key. But really, I think a lot of the way I was programming the game was always telling myself well, if I can come up with a cool reason to have a big gold door that requires the gold key, that would be cool, and I could come up with some stuff in there. But I sort of just the box kept sort of changing size a little bit. It was I think I've done enough content. I don't think I need to do anything with the key, so I won't. So there's probably a few other things like that in that version of the game. But yeah, I sort of just liked the imagery of the two keys, and just go for the one that requires more effort from the player. Felt good to me. Stoby/Mr. Balls asks, hi Adam, will we ever get a small release of the few Crow songs on physical media or on streaming services? It would be cool. So all the music's been done by my friend Alistair, who made the really banging Crow theme. And the rest of the music is really just taking the stems of the Crow theme and slowing them down and stuff like that. I don't think I really used any other music apart from right at the end doing in the final interactive Nils version. There's the quite strange kind of video animation that you unlock where I asked Alistair again to make the music for that, which I think he really did an amazing job on as well. So there is arguably two songs. There is arguably 2 songs and maybe 4 tracks or something like that I could put out. I think the demand for it on physical media will be pretty low, so I don't think that's gonna happen. Vandercool says the ending music was banger. I was almost tearing up. That's great. People cried. That's what I wanted. Thank you guys. I've got no experience of putting things on streaming services. What's good, guys? Should it be on Spotify? Should it be on SoundCloud, Bandcamp? I don't know. I think it's there's people saying Spotify. All of them, Spotify. I really liked the Ocean Quest theme. I forgot I wrote that. I was really happy with that as well. That was cool. Okay, if I can dig that out, I could put that something. Okay, that might be quite fun. I mean, yeah, I think probably Spotify makes sense, but I've never done that, and I don't know if it costs me any money or anything. But maybe I'll have a look at it. It might be quite fun. It might be like a good test for like just trying out putting on soundtracks on Spotify. I don't know entirely what we're gonna do with the Stretchmancer soundtrack. All I know is that it's gonna be like rad as hell. I've already, me and Tom have been playing some demos and stuff. We've sort of worked some really cool stuff out. I think the music's going to be really good in the game. So I think, me learning how to distribute soundtracks might be a good move for me. So yeah, I think that could be cool. Okay, I'm starting to get a bit tired. So I can see it's like 20 past 10, so I might go until about 10:30. 10:30 at night. Way past my bedtime. Okay. I'll chomp up a few other things. Paradox Factor asks, so I'm closing my Patreon, which I think is a kind of the right thing to do, given that I'm like no longer sort of delivering YouTube content. I think I always found Patreon kind of quite hard to really kind of deliver what I was, really wanted to give to everyone. And I so appreciate everyone that signed up to Patreon for long or short. I know that Paradox was in there for a long haul, so I really, really appreciate them. And so they've asked, will you make some of the exclusives, like the director's commentaries, available elsewhere? I think that's probably a good idea. I do like doing director's commentaries. I think this is like a good replacement. This AMA is quite a good replacement for a director's commentary on Crow 64. I think I'm able to answer a lot more questions than I was able to. But I was quite proud of the director's commentaries I did on Internet Story, and Game That Time Forgot was the other one I did. So yeah, maybe that is something I will do. I'll try and remember to do that as well. I think that'd be great. Let me grab a few more questions. I'll try not to talk so much. Alistair asks, what's Luke working on? So Luke is my brother, very talented, smart guy. I've done a lot of like collaboration with him where he's just like, I just sort of throw things at him and he's always got like good insight. And for Crow 64, it was like a bigger collaboration where he helped with a lot of the puzzles and that kind of thing. But he is a theoretical physicist primarily. So he has been working on physics stuff a lot. And I think now he is working on some big algorithm for something, which is too complicated for me to share. But he's a very cool guy. And if he's watching, I love you, Luke. What else? That wasn't a very useful answer. Any little Stretchmancer treats you're able to give us? I think that's from Elsie. Stretchmancer treats, I think basically, if you join the Stretchmancer Discord, the plan is to just put as much like info and like gifs and little cute things as much as we can in there. I think the always the hard thing with being a creator is like you get quite precious about your like work in progress, and you're like, oh, is this going to spoil things for people, or is this going to like look a bit crappy? But I think I'm trying to learn to be more just open and just sort of let people kind of appreciate what we've got. So yeah, you'll see quite a lot of little treats on the Discord. We want to be posting kind of weekly. I want to be making a lot more like shorts, which will show off like, oh, here's like a boss battle I'm working on. Here's like, we've just made this sort of mechanic that sort of leans in a little into like a kind of action light kind of game where there are like little, what we're calling squish troopers, this world's version of stormtroopers that will fire lasers at you and stuff like that. But you can use your pushing and pulling abilities to like knock them off edges and things like that. So we're not making like an action game, but it's like it's one of the ways we're sort of showing that it's sort of a puzzle game that is like fun and kind of outrageous and kind of asks a little bit more from you than like a Superliminal or a Viewfinder in terms of like this kind of action feeling. So that's a little tidbit for you. Mick Ruler asked a question about the birthday date. That was answered already. I'm sure the transcript will deliver my whole long rambling thing. Juge asked, do you think Manfred Lorenz played Tobias in the Dark Scepters? He definitely didn't. That Tobias and the Dark Scepters is the video game that I made a long time ago in like the Click Team engine. And yeah, that was my first proper game that I put out, and I don't think Manfred would have played it because he would have had no patience. I recently tried to play Tobias, and it does require a lot of patience. It requires you kind of knowing already how to do how to solve all my puzzles before you've even seen them before. And I think I've learned a lot about puzzle design and how to like take the player through a puzzle since then. So yeah, I don't think Manfred would have played it. I don't necessarily recommend anyone playing that game, but it is like an interesting artifact, I think, that I'm really, really proud of. Oh, I've not seen this thing about the new Active Object album that M Million has recommended. I might look that up. That sounds like my jam. Yeah, I'm very interested in the old Click Team world, but I've got to be honest, I really like Unity. Someone asked something about Unity. Yeah. Oh yeah. Someone asked why do the crows have the same eyes as Mario 64? I think the sort of long answer to that is that I think I was quite lucky with Crow 64 in that I like knew that I was making a thing for the internet. I wasn't making a piece for film festivals. I wasn't making a piece that would like make money. And that meant that I could be a little, I think, like fast and loose with kind of using things, because I was grabbing like models and textures from Chameleon Twist from Mario 64. I was grabbing like the chair from Banjo-Kazooie and recoloring it. I was doing a lot of stuff to like fill the gaps in the fact that like I really can't 3D model. I can only do the odd thing. And so I played pretty fast and loose with the kind of things I stole from like other N64 games. And I kind of felt like this is okay. Like I'm not really like making loads of money out of this thing. It kind of feels like it's a big kind of messy amalgam, and that's maybe some of the beauty of it. I think making the Crow 64 eyes like the Mario eyes was really just me like, oh, this will work. Oh, I'll just change them to orange. And I was like, oh, he's cute, or they're cute, depending on how you gender them, or she's cute, and I was like, oh, the orange eyes are great, they look really cute. Great, job done. The crow's ready. You can play as them now. And I didn't think the community would be like, well, those are obviously from Mario 64, like really like. The forensic detail with which you guys like look at them was really interesting, and so I would say that was kind of like a mistake, and I was kind of bothered by that mistake of how similar they were. So when I did the Unity dub, I kind of jokingly made reference to it and said that like Mr. Miyamoto had sent an email to Manfred Lorenz saying, they look similar, but I know they're not the same and you haven't infringed any copyright. I can't quite remember why, of all the bugbears and inconsistencies, that was one that I like wanted to pick up on and like unravel. But yeah, I think I was just sort of having a bit of fun there, and I think I made the right choice because I think that specific like cross-eyedness that they have, the big eyes, like I wouldn't have been able to do that myself, and I think it is some of the reason why the Crow character is like quite cute and adorable even on like an N64 resolution. So yeah, I'm quite happy with that. Okay. Oh, that's a really cool N64 cartridge. Nice one, Atonic. Someone's joking about the Raspberry Cruise is joking around the Cookie Monster that did appear in the Unity dump. Yeah, that was really just me messing around, and I like there was a really good website that had a load of N64 models, and I was just grabbing them all in and like learning what I could. Like, oh, okay, this is what like a key would look like in this world. Oh, this is what a chair would look like, and some things I was like using directly, and some things I wasn't. People have asked about the stairs. I sort of feel like I don't want to answer the stairs, actually. I think maybe I'll keep some mysteries forever, I think. I think I really liked the way the community kind of used that element in a kind of comedic way, because I think there was it was a very unusual choice to make, like falling down the stairs and these like stair objects to repeat, but I kind of liked the strangeness of it, and I like that it could be seen as kind of uncanny or as humorous, which is how you guys found it. I think I don't want to get into like the full nitty gritty of exactly what happened there and why the stairs are represented, but I think it's so okay for that. Gotta leave a little bit of mystery. And then yes, it was the models resource scramble. That's right. Nick D Golfer asks, how much was the like of the SM64 personalized thing or Petscop inspired Crow? So basically, I wasn't aware of Mario 64 is personalized until after I released Crow, I think, at all. And I liked the way it overlapped. Like they were both kind of dealing with like, oh, what if there's something in the game that remixes it and weird things happen? Petscop equally, I think I was like halfway through making Crow 64. Like I'd already like filmed a lot of the sections when my brother was like, oh, have you come across this thing, Petscop? And I watched it and I was like, oh my god, this is so good. It's like so it's so well made. And I think it does a lot of things like sound design and like the filter on it and the voiceover from the main character. I think it does a lot more like really good authentic stuff. And it does a lot of like quite Lynchian weird stuff as well that I really dig. I like watched all of it, I think, before I put out Crow 64. But I wouldn't say I was really like that inspired by it. I think like we were just already both on the same track, and I was doing my track, which was I would say was probably the slightly more like fast version, where it's like in and out. You know, my longest video is 19 minutes, whereas I think like Petscop, a lot of the videos like go into like half an hour and stuff. They're quite like long, complicated things, but I really, really admire that series, but I wouldn't say I was like inspired by it. It's probably the best way of putting it. But yeah, a really good series. And I think I'm gonna actually that's where I will call it before my my throat runs out. So people were asking about the chess. I'll finish on chess. So some people were asking about chess. Again, this was another example of like me being in this weird relationship with the audience where I really just wanted to make like a toy zone, and I found like a chess model from like Chess 64 or something, and I'd recolored the pawns and things so it looked a bit more toyetic, and put them in the middle of the thing. Had these like, it was really easy to animate them moving around, so it was like, okay, cool, I can do that. And that was it. That was chess, basically. I didn't for once think I want to make a chess puzzle. And then the the amount of fervor, the confidence with which Adam's definitely made a chess puzzle. There's something with the grid. These things are moving onto different coordinates. There's the fact that chess is a grid and it's got A to F and the numbers. Like there's gonna be something, And I was just like, no, I couldn't even. I really even tried to come up with a chess puzzle, and I was like, it's actually kind of complicated. Like, what would the inherent value of each square be? Would there be an inherent value of each piece? Like, you would have to do quite a lot of work to make it like intuitive, I think, or like workoutable without a kind of Rosetta Stone somewhere else that says, okay, this square means A and this square means B or whatever. So when I like came back to the like Nils version of the game, I was like, okay, is there a chess puzzle? I think I probably scribbled on a notepad for like 10 minutes, still couldn't think of one. I was like, fine, okay, that's that. And the nearest you get to a chess puzzle in the game is there is like a grid of letters at one point, and that was a thing I was excited about, with these like salt circles that were different like different numbers of polygons, and that would spell out the letters you needed. And I liked making the maze out of like a grid of squares, and I was like, oh, what I can do is, just for people that are really not sure what order to read the squares in, I guess I could move a thing on a chessboard and I'll make the same number of squares as a chessboard. And that was that. And I was like, there you go. You can have the you can have your chess puzzle. That's the best I can do. Like, I really was kind of trying to give the community some closure on chess by the end of it there. So I really wasn't trying to mess with anyone with that. I was just trying to be like, is this enough? Have I satisfied your desire for the chess puzzle? But we'll see. Okay. That's great. This has been really fun, guys. Thank you so much for your kind questions, and really a big thank you just for being like a really nice community that's been just really nice to like read all your stuff and look at your artwork and read your theories, and all my interactions with you guys have been just really nice. So I really appreciate that. And I also appreciate that like you guys have sort of stepped out of the Crow 64 world sometimes and been like, oh, like, let's watch House Sitting, let's watch some other films by him. And I also appreciate like you guys, sounds like you guys are up for Stretchmancer. We're building this like Discord community from the ground up there, so I really encourage you to sort of get in there, and we'll work out. Me actually manage. We're working with some people that know how to manage a community a bit more. But like, if you guys have got like feedback, or you're like, oh, I want to be able to talk about here, and there's no channel for it and stuff like that, like, I think we can definitely be quite collaborative with the community there. And yeah, I'm definitely learning like how to talk about a video game in the open without having to pretend that I'm a character in a video or whatever. So me being real and all that, like, that's something I'm going to learn. And I hope you guys will like join us on this journey for making Stretchmancer. And maybe there will even be a chess puzzle in Stretchmancer. Maybe. Who knows? Okay. All right. This has been loads of fun. Good night, everyone that's for whom it is nighttime, and everyone else, have a good rest of your day. Lots of love. Bye.
All right. Oh, I'll bring Mr. Chair on. Why not? Buggy.
Hello, we're gonna be
Buggy,
playing
did you
some-
get... You're gonna play. I just got
We're
to
gonna play some
Buggy. You got
Catastrophe
that
Pro?
all right? You got the recording. No big deal either way, because you've also been transcribing. Okay, cool.